Baseball has its first pitch in just about a half hour with the Diamondbacks and the Phillies. So, of course, we wanted to get on early to talk sports, baseball, betting research, fantasy research, and everything else with all of you out there. So, good morning. Welcome into the show. Make sure, as always, that you're hitting that follow button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us every time that we go live. We are across all of these platforms almost every single day, so make sure you join us because we love talking sports with every single one of you. The way things go down during our show is we do research. We're not a sports book. We're not backed by any sports book. We just love talking sports and more specifically doing research around our bets, our fantasy plays, and to make our arguments every single day as we talk sports with all of you out there. So if you love sports content, you've come to the right place, but we do a lot of research. So if you do have a question, make sure that you throw it in the comments section or in the chat because we love answering your questions, helping you guys out with research because we know a lot of you guys may have a gut reason for going with something, but you like a little bit of confirmation. I'm big into data. That's how I approach things. I am not an expert bettor by any means, and I want to make sure that's clear. We hit our all-around picks, round robins included, at about 55%. We hit our individual bets at around a 65 to 67% clip. That's usually what our percentages are for those that watch the show, but I never want to pass myself off as a sports betting expert. I'm more of a sports data expert. I've worked at ESPN, Fox Sports, CBS Sports. I was a producer for Jim Rome. I just love producing sports content and using data to make my arguments and obviously to engage with you fans out there. So that's how we do things here at Butt Fumble Sports. If you do have a question, get it in because that's how we're going to approach things. We will start with the first game of the day. So honor of the first question goes out to Cheek Schlap Nation because you're talking about the Phillies. Of course, that's where we're going to start since it's the first game of the day. By the way, if you're watching on TikTok Live and Instagram Live, you're going to see me up on your screen because the algorithm prefers the human face. But if you do switch over to YouTube, Twitch, or Kick, you're going to see the screen that I do all of my research on, and whenever I come up with a pick based on data, it goes up on the screen on our big board right here. So if any of you guys do want to see the screen I'm going to do my research on, jump on over to YouTube. It's the better experience if you guys want to follow along. Our research tools for today are Outlier, which is one place that we get our market data on behind each game, as well as some trends, just looking at how the sports books are placing the lines. We use killersports.com to do a lot of our research. They've just upgraded their platform, so a new view for all of us. Hopefully we can maneuver just as quickly through it. And on the side, though I won't show it on my screen, is ballparkpal.com. They don't sponsor the show, just love what they offer. So they run thousands of simulations around every baseball game every day. I like to use them as kind of a check against my balance. I like to use them as just how is their simulation going against the research that I do. If they are in conflict, it doesn't mean I don't place the bet or go with the pick. It just means that maybe I have a little bit of tension there. With that said, let's dive into some of our research for this one. First things first, we're going to talk about the market for this game. The money is obviously coming down pretty heavily on the Phillies, but maybe not as much as the tickets and maybe not as much as some would expect. For the Phillies, 91% of the tickets are on the Phillies to win, only 76% of the money, so the Diamondbacks at plus 205 getting a bit of action. Not surprised by that, given that that plus 205 is a good return on investment. As for the run line spread, the tickets 93% in favor of Philadelphia, 82% in favor of the money going towards Philly. Interestingly enough, this run line is set at 9.5. The under is actually getting a good amount of money towards it. So 19% of the tickets are on the under, but 36% of the money is on the under. Kind of interesting there. Maybe some of the bettors think that an early day game will produce fewer runs despite some weather in Philadelphia that will be favorable towards offense. According to ballparkpal.com, likelihood of home runs in Philadelphia up 30% based on the weather. Likelihood of overall runs up 9% based on the weather. Wind's going to be blowing out to right center, so if you like a pull hitter from the left-handed side, might be a good day for that. Good winds out to that right center, and the heat is going to be driving the ball up in the air, which will help with home runs. So this could be a game, if you like betting dingers, you might want to consider Diamondbacks and Phillies. That said, Couple of pitchers on the mound that may suggest lower scores, part of the reason why the under might be getting some love. Let's go into dive into some of our trends around this game. We're going to focus specifically on this one, and then I'm going to jump back to just some of the overall trends throughout the course of the year on Sundays, because that's something you guys know I like to check on from time to time. Let's take a look at the Phillies. Phillies in the last game of a series at home as a favorite so far this year. Six and 6 under that scenario, 5-7 on the run line, 5-7, just favoring the under slightly. We have the new platform here, new view here on, not sure how I like it yet. I'm still trying to maneuver my way around the killersports.com new view. With that said, Christopher Sanchez on the mound. He's been fantastic for the Phillies. Let's dive into some of the trends around him so far this season. I did look some of these up prior to the show, so I do know what I'm leaning towards for here. I gotta log in to killersports.com. Okay, we've logged in. Oh, they're gonna make me jump over. Okay, now we're cooking. Again, we're checking Christopher Sanchez here. How has he performed so far this year? When he's been on the mound so far this season, Phillies have gone 7-7 straight up, 3-11. That's not 3-11 on the run line, 7-5-2 towards the over. When he's pitched at home, Christopher Sanchez 5-2 straight up, 2-5 on the run line so far at home this season, and the over's been slightly better at 4-2-1. When the Phillies are a home favorite so far this year, that's where the trend he's won 5 straight games under that scenario. killersports.com, this is not nearly as good as it used to be. So if you're watching the show, because I know sometimes you guys watch it, it's not as good as it used to be, just so you know. With that said, curious how he's done when the total in his career, this is going to be a separate trend we just want to look at. Curious when Christopher Sanchez has had a total of, let's say, 9 runs or more in any game he's started. He's gone 12-14 straight up, 9-17 on the run line. The unders performed slightly better at 14, 11-1. Just kind of curious about that. How about when that 9-run total, at least 9 runs, has been at home, 9-9 straight up, 7-11 on the run line, and 11-7 towards the under. Under's been a much better play under that scenario in 5 of the last 6 games that he's pitched under that scenario. I'm just going to jump back, and we're going to jump back to some of the trends relating to the teams for this game. Phillies, we looked at last game of a series as a home favorite. How about the Diamondbacks? Diamondbacks have been actually a very good team on Sundays, just to jump back to that for one moment while this loads up. Diamondbacks, I believe, are the second best team in baseball on a Sunday, with the Red Sox being number 1 so far this year. When it's been a Sunday, regardless of location, straight up, the Diamondbacks are 10-2 straight up on Sundays, 9-3 on the run line. So far this year, again, the second best run line record, that's behind the Nationals. So just kind of an interesting note. Diamondbacks to cover, at least according to how Sundays have played out, might be a decent trend. As for Diamondbacks, last game of a series as a road underdog, they're 7-2 straight up, they're 7-2 on the run line. Under has had a good run of it as well, going 5-2-2. So if there's something that's kind of coming out of some of our research, it tends for me to be Phillies on the money line, Diamondbacks to cover +1.5. I lean slightly towards the under based on the trends. I'm not going to bet the total, but the first few picks we're going to put up on the board, just based on the data that we just looked at, is going to be, I'll take the Phillies on the money line. I do like the starting pitching matchup just a little bit more in their favor. But that said, I do like the Diamondbacks to cover the +1.5. So it may not be a great play to go against each one. Maybe you want to put it into a parlay, or maybe you want to do a same game parlay with one of your favorite hitters from this one, combining it with a side that you like. That said, let's jump over to the player prop bets for this game. Just looking at who's hit the starting pitchers really well. Christopher Sanchez, Ketel Marte, only one official at bat against him was for a hit. Ketel Marte is hitting .324 against left-handed pitching so far this year. So keep your eye. Ketel Marte over half a hit, available on Prize Picks and on FanDuel. Not available. You got to get it over 1.5 if you want it on DraftKings, BetMGM, Caesars, and others. May not be the thing for you, but over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs, not available either. Unfortunately, it's set at 2.5. That's where you can find it on most of the sports books. With that said, the other side of things, no history against the Diamondbacks starting pitcher for the Phillies lineup, but against right-handed pitching so far this year, Trey Turner hitting .340, Alec Boehm hitting .323, Bryce Harper hitting .296. Harper's been red hot. Brandon Marsh is hitting .296 against right-handed pitching. He might be someone you want to keep your eye on. I personally went with Alec Boehm for this game, but because of how the line is being set for a number of these hitters, over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs might actually be a better play than playing the over 1.5 hits, just because of the return on investment. For most of those over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs, like for a Brandon Marsh, you can get it at -119, -120, as high as -140, where over 1.5 hits, not necessarily a great return on the investment given the risk of it. Appreciate you guys joining the show. Those are our first few picks of the day. Didn't put up any player prop bets for that first game, but Alec Boehm, Brandon Marsh, Ketel Marte were three hitters that I had my eye on and placed bets on earlier. If you guys want every pick that I make every single day for free, I never charge for them. I will never carry myself off as a sports betting expert. I only focus on the data and the trends. That's what I'm really into. So if I find matchups that all point me in the same direction, that's what I bet on. Hits about 55% of the time across round robins, parlays, and individual plays. As for the individual plays just on their own, hit about 65 to 67%. That's as good as I do, so I don't want you guys to think about anything else in terms of expert, Vegas, none of that. We just love doing research every single day. With that said, make sure you guys hit the follow button. Make sure you subscribe. We're going to get to your questions now so you guys can put in what you guys care about throughout the day. Next one that we're seeing is Yankees. Yankees on the money line. That's also one of the early games of the day, starting at 1:35. Yankee Stadium, Max Fried going up against Nestor Cortez. Going back to Outlier to check on the market for this game, the Atlanta Braves, they are a slight favorite in terms of the run line, but they're an underdog in terms of the money line, so kind of an interesting turn here. Yankees are -110 on the money line. Braves are +105, but it's the Braves getting the -1.5 runs and the Yankees getting the +1.5 runs. So kind of interesting there. As for the market around the money line, 64% of the tickets bet on this game are on the Yankees to win, 62% of the money, so lines up pretty even there. As for that run line, 74% of the tickets are on the Yankees, +1.5, but interestingly enough, 41% on the Braves to actually cover the -1.5. Obviously, given how the Braves have hit, coming to Yankee Stadium, got hot again, that -1.5 at +160, kind of an interesting return there. As for the over-under, over is getting more love from both tickets and money. It's set right now at over 8.5, 94% of tickets, 95% of money playing on that. Really quick, I'm actually going to jump on over to the player prop bets first on this, because I just want to show you how the two starting pitchers, there's a bit of history here for a couple of batters, and I want to call those out first. Matt Olson, 3 for 5 in his career against Nestor Cortez. He's hitting .286 against left-handed pitching this year, and going up against a left-handed pitcher on the road so far this year, he actually has a hit in 9 of his last 10 games. So this was actually a pick I wanted to put on the board for all of you guys right away. Matt Olson over half a hit. I'm actually going with Matt Olson over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. In one fun play that I actually put together, I have him hitting a dinger. The weather for this game at Yankee Stadium should be hot, wind blowing out. more towards center field, left center, but still should be a home run hitting park there up in the Bronx. So Matt Olson, over half a hit, very big on him today. Another hitter that I actually wanted to show you guys before we dive into the game itself. Against Max Fried, there are a bunch of Yankees who hit him pretty well. Judge, Volpe, Verdugo, LeMahieu, but the one that really stands out is Juan Soto. Juan Soto has faced him 24 times, 24 at-bats, has a .333 average. Not as many RBIs as you'd like to see, only 2 with no home runs. But against left-handed pitching this year, Juan Soto is hitting .311. So the combination of both great history against Max Fried and his performance against left-handed starters this year, very big on Juan Soto. So Juan Soto, over half a hit, is available against left-handed pitching. He has a hit in 7 of his last 9 games against the left-handed starter, specifically at home, 7 of his last 10 games. So those are 2 hitters that I really like for that early Braves-Yankees game. Matt Olson, over half a hit. Juan Soto, over half a hit. Those are up on the big board now. With that said, let's go over to see how the Yankees and the Braves have performed so far this year under the circumstances of today's game. Braves, last game of a series, just on the road, regardless of favorite or underdog status, because we've seen that flipping around a little bit. So far this year, 6-6 straight up, 5-7 on the run line. The under's been slightly better at 7-4-1. I'm just kind of curious how they performed when they've gone up against a team with a winning record under that scenario. Again, that's on the road, last game of a series, as they are today going up against the Yankees. And so far this year, Braves are 3-1 straight up, 3-1 on the run line. Last game of a series on the road against a team with a winning record. And the under is undefeated, going 3-0-1. Just one push. That came the last time out. Reynaldo Lopez went up against the Orioles under this scenario, and that was a push going 9 runs. So interesting, the total set at 9 runs today. Weather, again, favoring offense just a little bit, especially in terms of home runs. But the under for this one might be a bit interesting. The money and the tickets are coming heavily in towards the over. But if you take it and buy it up, it might be interesting to see where you could get some value out of this just based on that early trend. Let's see if that actually gets backed up by some of the other things we're going to research now. Let's look at how the Yankees have performed again under the same scenario. Yankees, last game of a series, but obviously they're playing at home today, and they're going up against a team with a winning record. So far this year, they're 5-1 straight up, 4-2 on the run line, and the over is 5-1. So there we go, some discrepancy there. But the Yankees have been very good under this scenario. Interestingly enough, the only time they lost was their last game under this scenario, and it was when Luis Gil had that terrible performance against the Baltimore Orioles, got blown up. The Yankees gave up 17 runs. Their only loss so far this year, last game of a series at home against a winning team. Those other teams that they beat include the Dodgers, Twins, Mariners, and an early Tigers team back on May 5th. So kind of interesting there. Yankees are averaging 5 runs or more in all of those games. So maybe we should be able to expect the Yankees to score around 4 or 5 runs today. So if you're thinking about that over 4.5 for the Yankees, might be good to play the over. I just want to now jump on over to the starting pitching matchup. Let's look at Max Fried first. Max Fried, so far this year in his starts, Braves are 10-4 straight up, 7-7 on the run line. Under has outperformed the over at 9-5. When Max Fried has pitched on the road so far this year, 6-3 straight up, 5-4 on the run line. Under, slightly better at 5-4. And just to complete the view, when he's gone up against a winning team on the road so far this year, 2-3 straight up, 2-3 on the run line, and the under slightly better at 3-2. So obviously, the more we weed out some of the lesser teams, the worse that record gets. The 2 wins he actually had were against the Red Sox and the Cubs, not exactly juggernauts. His losses came against the Orioles, Dodgers, and Mariners. So certainly a bit of an indication as to why we might believe in the Yankees a little bit. We also spoke about how their hitters have performed. They have a number of hitters who have actually hit Max Fried pretty well. Juan Soto, Verdugo, DJ LeMahieu amongst them. Next player we're going to talk about is Nestor Cortes, starting for the Yankees. So far this year in his starts, Yankees are 7-9 straight up, 7-9 on the run line. Under slightly been better at 9-6-1. When Cortez has pitched at home this year, Yankees are 5-3 straight up, 5-3 on the run line. Unders outperform the over at 5-3 as well. And again, just to complete the look against winning teams so far this year at home, Nestor Cortez hasn't happened this year, interestingly enough. So we ran out of the trend. That can't be. Because he faced the Dodgers. He faced the Mariners. Oh, that's why. I put in the wrong query. So Nestor Cortez has a winning record at home against winning teams, going 3-2 straight up, 3-2 on the run line. Over's been slightly better at 3-2 as well. His wins came against the Orioles, Mariners, and Tigers back on that May 5th game we spoke of a moment ago. So kind of interesting there. As of right now, I'm leaning slightly towards the Yankees, but the fact I can get the Yankees at the +1.5, I might lean towards that overall. I think the Yankees pull out the win, so taking Yankees on the money line certainly doesn't have me cautious, but getting them at +1.5, that's the higher confidence play. And you guys know I want to give you guys the high confidence plays. I'll let you guys know what I'm placing bets on my own, but if I put it up on the big board, I want it to have a confidence level of 55 or 60% or higher. So as of right now, we have Phillies on the money line, we have Diamondbacks +1.5, we have the Yankees +1.5, and I think the Yankees will actually end up winning that game. So Yankees on the money line, I feel good about that. 2-player prop bets we put up on the board. Matt Olson over half a hit, Juan Soto over half a hit. I expect both of them to have big games, so if you want to take them over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, definitely about that as well. Will Jr., great to know that our picks did well for you yesterday. Stephen Cleveland, thank you so much for watching the show. Farika, are Diamondbacks going to win? I actually think there's some value there, so while I don't think they're going to win, I actually think they are a decent bet. So that's one thing I do want to call out. Something that I've been learning more and more in my time in sports media, creating sports content, and learning from other people who do sports betting for a living at a far superior level than me, is sometimes you don't take the team that actually does have the best history, but the team that has the best market. So we talk about Yankees at +1.5. That's a very good market for what it is, especially for some parlays. The fact that I can get the Yankees at home, they've got a great track record. They're trending towards a money line play, but there are ways that you could just get some value on what's being offered. On the other side, you saw that there is value actually on the Braves -1.5, just because if they are going to win, the likelihood of them blowing out the Yankees is actually a decent bet as well. We looked at the Diamondbacks game. There's some value there. Diamondbacks at +200 to win, given that they've actually played the Phillies decently well, and the matchup that they have against the starting pitcher of the Phillies, Christopher Sanchez, isn't as unfavorable as it could have been. Weather might favor them actually towards some offense. So reasons to look at the market and not just look at the data. So with all of that said, again, a quick recap of the picks we have given out for the 11:35 game and the 1:35 Braves-Yankees game. We have Phillies on the money line. Phillies on the money line. We have Diamondbacks +1.5. We have Yankees +1.5. You may want to consider Yankees +1.5 in a parlay, two-leg parlay, same game parlay, and then consider Yankees on the money line as the individual bet, given that's got a better return on investment. We like for player prop bets, Matt Olson over half a hit and Juan Soto over half a hit. I think both of them have really strong days. If you're looking for that Phillies Diamondbacks game, a couple of hitters that we like: Ketel Marte, Alec Bohm. 2 hitters that we really like, just not great lines for them. A lot of their hits are placed at 1.5, hits, runs, RBIs at 2.5. Not a great return there. If you do like them, you know, if you are a big believer in one of them, it may be worth it to actually kind of cover your bases all around with a couple of those same plays. Okay, everyone, next game that we're going to focus on is that Orioles game. I got a bunch of people who are asking about the Orioles, so that's going to be the next game that we focus on. That's got a slightly later start. That's a 2:10 start. Albert Suarez on the mound for the Orioles. Framber Valdez on the mound for the Houston Astros. Again, that's a 2:10 start in Houston. Let's go do our research on that one, everyone. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are loving the content in the show. Make sure you hit the follow button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us every time we go live. talking about this Orioles and Astros game. Interesting that the Astros are a sub 500 team. Kind of blows my mind just because the dominance they've had over the last few years, but that is the circumstance that we find the Astros in today. Orioles, last game of a series on the road this year against a sub 500 team. They've gone 4-2 straight up, 4-2 on the run line. The over has been better at 3-1-2. Orioles have been a team that have been synonymous and have absolutely dominated at closing out series over the last few years. I believe they've only actually lost one series since Adley Rutschman was called up. It is just a phenomenal run. They've been really good in these rubber game matchups. So interested by the fact that 4-2 against a sub 500 team. If we don't think of the Astros as a sub 500 team, just in terms of their talent, in case there's any caution there, Orioles have really performed well, even against winning teams, going 4-1 last game of a series on the road. I know that's not the circumstance today, but just as a reminder, Orioles, last game of a series, whether on the road or at home, really quality team. Kind of doing what we did last time, I'm going to jump back over really quick to show you some of the player prop bets because it kind of builds the narrative as to why we like certain teams if they perform well against a certain starting pitcher. Framber Valdez going up against the Baltimore Orioles today. There were a number of Oriole hitters who hit Framber Valdez really well. Mateo has only 7 at-bats but is hitting .429. Gunnar Henderson, 3 at-bats but does have a hit. Adley Rutschman is the player that I really want to call out. There are 2 players on the Orioles that I really want to make note of. Adley Rutschman, he's hitting he's got 3 hits in 6 at-bats against Framber Valdez. One of those hits was a home run. But when you're hitting .500 against the starting pitcher and you're hitting .426 against left-handed pitchers this year, it absolutely gets my attention. Adley Rutschman has raked against left-handed pitching throughout the season. When he's faced a left-handed pitcher on the road, he has a hit in 10 straight games. Over his last 20 games, he has a hit in 16 of his last 20 against the left-handed starting pitcher at home. Adley Rutschman is one of my favorite players today. He is absolutely raking on the road. And not just that, against the Houston Astros overall, he has a hit in 6 of his last 7 games against the Houston Astros, so he's performed well against them as well. I take Adley Rutschman over half a hit, but much like Juan Soto, much like Matt Olson, there are players where I would be fine taking them over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. I'd be willing to take them at a number of other player prop bet spots. With that said, another hitter who actually takes Framber Valdez deep and hits him well is Anthony Santander. 8 at-bats, .375 average with a home run mixed in against left-handed pitching this year. Santander's only hitting .265, but he has been coming on stronger of late. Over his last 10, he has a hit in 7 of those last 10 against left-handed pitching, 7 of his last 10 on the road against left-handed pitching, 6 of his last 10. But Santander going up against the left-handed starter that he has history against, I like him over half a hit as well. I'm going to put that one up on the board. Anthony Santander over half a hit. If you told me that he went deep, wouldn't shock me. If you told me Adley Rutschman went deep, wouldn't shock me. But Rutschman's got the longer odds, Santander the shorter odds, so take that for what it's worth. 2 players that we like from the Orioles side of things. Jumping over to the Astros side, they have no history against the starting pitcher of the Orioles, Albert Suarez. Against right-handed starting pitchers so far this year, right-handed pitching overall, Dubon has hit really well, .295 average. Altuve hitting .289. But Yordan Alvarez hitting .270. Singleton, .234. They don't have as many 300 hitters as you'd like to see from the Houston Astros side of things. Kind of just an interesting note. As we go back to what we like in the game, Orioles, we're building a consensus around the fact very good last game of a series on the road against winning teams. How about the Astros? Last game of a series at home against teams with a winning record. So far this year, Astros are just 4-4 under that scenario, 5-3 on the run line, and 4-4 flat even across the over-under. But over their last few games, they've gone back and forth, win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. The wins that they do have came against the Brewers and the Guardians, Rangers, Blue Jays. That came obviously earlier in the year. That came in April. But over the course of May and June, their losses have come against the Braves, the Mariners, the Twins, Personally, I like the Orioles in this one, but we're going to dive into the trends a little bit more. We're not done with it. We're going to go to the starting pitcher right now. Albert Suarez, when he's gone up against a team with a losing record on the road so far this year, Albert Suarez under that scenario is 2-1 straight up, 2-1 on the run line. The under has outperformed the over at 2-0-1. Flipping sides over and looking at the starting pitcher of the Houston Astros, Framber Valdez. At home against a team with a winning record, Valdez has made only 2 starts, 1-1 in both of them, 1-1 on the run line. The under hit in both of them. So kind of interesting that the under has hit in a number of the scenarios we're looking at. I'm not necessarily playing that. It's set at 8.5. Jumping back over to the market for this game. Looking at the Orioles and the Astros, 75% of the tickets are on the Astros to win. 88% of the money is on the Orioles to win. So a big discrepancy there. Tickets on the Astros, money on the Orioles. I like that as someone who is more interested in taking the Orioles. Even better, the Orioles are the underdog in this game. Orioles money line is plus 105. Orioles on the run line plus 1.5. I can get that at minus 190. Love that. As for that spread, 59% of the tickets are on the Orioles to cover the run line of plus 1.5. But the Astros are getting a bit more love. Not surprising. Astros minus 1.5. Plus 170 is where it's being offered. They're getting about 50% of the money. Overall on this one, I like the Orioles to win. I'll take the Orioles plus 1.5 for our parlay purposes, but if you ask me what I think is going to actually end up happening, I like the Orioles on the money line. So, even though I have the Yankees plus 1.5 on the big board and Orioles plus 1.5 on the big board, I'm letting you guys know I'm putting those up because those are a higher confidence in the fact that they're being offered just that way. I'll take it, but I like them to win. I think that both AL East teams get the W today. We've added a couple of player prop bets to the board as well. Add the Rutschman over half a hit, Anthony Santander over half a hit, to go with Matt Olson and Juan Soto, both over half a hit. I think those are 4 hitters we can expect a lot from in the early stages of today's MLB action. Appreciate you guys being with us. If you guys want every pick that I make every day, I give them away for free. I never charge for them. I never put them behind a paywall. I think it's ridiculous that people on social media charge for their picks. You better be a Vegas expert if that's the case. And I'm just someone who loves data and loves research. So if you guys want access to my picks for free every single day, just DM me on Instagram. Butt Fumble Sports is the name of my company, the name of our channel, Butt Fumble Sports. Yeah, I really did start a company called Butt Fumble Sports. Just DM me on Instagram. We give away all of our picks for free on the SHARPZ app. SHARPZ is like a bulletin board for sports bettors. So every time I place a bet, the ticket automatically shows up there so you can see every bet that I make every day. It's really easy. It's very transparent. And that's what I like about it. That's why I agreed to have them as one of our sponsors for the show. So really appreciate you guys. For all those who want our picks, make sure you guys hit me up, DM me on Instagram. More than happy to give those away. And again, if you're watching on TikTok Live and on Instagram Live and you want to see my screen and you want to see the big board that I'm referring to as we build it, just jump on over to YouTube. That's where I actually share my screen. I've learned that Instagram Live and TikTok Live prefer the face per algorithm purposes, so that's why we do that. But feel free to jump on over to YouTube if you guys want to actually see the research that I'm doing every single day. Again, the research we give out, we're not a sports book. We're just a channel that loves research. So TikTok, everybody out there, be wary of that. Every time we come up with a pick, it's based on the research and the trends that we look at. A few quick picks that I'm just going to give out just to keep things moving and allow us to do some research on other things. A couple of my favorite picks for today. I really like the Mariners to close out their series against the Marlins. I was surprised that they lost earlier in the series, that walk-off win. It felt like the Marlins were on just a great walk-off streak there for a few days. That's obviously cooled off yesterday. The pitching matchup, Bryce Miller on the mound, definitely favors the Mariners. So Mariners on the money line, that's going up on the big board. I'm just going to put that up there right now so we can just get it out of the way. Another one that I really like, just going to another one of our favorite picks for the day, is going back to the Twins. Minnesota Twins, the matchup very favorable for them. I'm just showing up on my screen. The market favors them as well. Keep your eye out on the Oakland A's to cover. They're always a risky play. I think the A's plus 1.5 is not a bad play. We actually might dive into this game in just a moment. I kind of like the opportunity to dive into this one, actually. But I like the Twins on the money line. They've got a number of hitters who hit the starting pitcher of the A's very well. Carlos Correa is someone I really like for over half a hit. So I'm going to just throw him up on the board right now. Carlos Correa, over half a hit. I'm also very big on Royce Lewis. He has been raking against left-handed pitching so far this year, and frankly, he is one of the hottest hitters in baseball. So Royce Lewis, over half a hit to go with Carlos Correa, over half a hit. Thanks, guys, so much for the gifts. Really appreciate that. With that said, let's actually dive into this game from an Oakland A's perspective. I'm just kind of curious. When the Athletics have been last game of a series at home against a team with a winning record, so far this year, 2-4 straight up, but there it is, 5-1 on the run line. So the A's have played a number of one-run games or one out in the scenario of last game of a series at home against a team with a winning record. So that 5-1 record really pairs up with the market that we just looked at, Oakland A's plus 1.5. What's actually something I really like is the Athletics plus 1.5 is available at minus 110. I can move that. I can get the A's plus 2.5 at minus 165. I actually really like that play. I'm going to throw that one up on the big board as well. Athletics plus 2.5. Again, that's available at minus 165, I believe. Yeah, minus 165. That's a pretty good play. If you just want to put it into a parlay of things that might be lower probability but maybe higher return, not a bad idea. Just a way of kind of also hedging some of your plays throughout the day. Jumping back over to this really quickly, I just want to look at how the Twins have done last game of a series against a team with a sub-500 winning record. 6-1 straight up. That backs our thinking on Twins money line. They are 5-2 on the run line, and they've won 6 in a row in this scenario, but they've actually failed to cover the run line in 2 of the last 3 games. Over slightly better at 4-3, but I'm not going to touch the total for that game. Much more interested in that Twins money line, Athletics plus 2.5. That's just a quick cover of that game. One of our favorite plays of the day. Appreciate you guys being with us. If you guys do have a question, feel free to put it in the comments section. Love hearing from you and the questions that you guys have. Luke, Tigers and White Sox. So we warned everybody yesterday that the White Sox were a very dangerous cover play, and not only did they cover, they won outright. So let's take a look at the White Sox. Last game of a series on the road against a team with a sub-500 record. White Sox are 1-4 in that scenario, 2-3 on the run line. The over has performed better at 4-1. Again, that's a very specific trend that we're looking at. We're going to expand it in just a moment because there are reasons to have a little bit of faith in the White Sox actually. But when the Tigers have faced a sub-500 team at home last game of a series, the Tigers rather, 4-4 straight up. They're 3-5 on the run line. Unders perform slightly better at 4-3-1. Let's open this up though a little bit, focusing on the starting pitchers. This is what has me concerned. I'm starting with Reese Olson of the Tigers. He's pitching at home, and he's facing a sub-500 team. So far this year, he's just 1-3 in that scenario. And even more shocking, Reese Olson at home against a losing team is 0-4 on the run line. So reason to kind of believe in the White Sox, actually, at least from a run line perspective, to cover that plus 1.5. 0-4 so far this year under that scenario. Those games did come against the Nationals, Blue Jays, Marlins, and Rangers. So decent teams overall. A number of those were just a lack of run support for Reese Olson. He didn't pitch poorly, but the team didn't provide offense. Just something to take note of. On the other side of things, Jonathan Cannon is on the mound for the White Sox. Jonathan Cannon on the road against a team with a sub-500 winning percentage. So far this year, just one performance under that scenario, a 7-0 loss to the Minnesota Twins. How has Cannon pitched against teams just when he's pitched on the road? 0-2 straight up, but he's 1-1 on the run line. Other than that 7-0 loss, He actually had a pretty good performance against the Mariners in a 2-1 loss that came back on June 12th, a far more recent performance. The under did hit in both of those games. I mentioned I wanted to expand this search just a little bit. Tigers, coming off a win, last game of a series. Sorry, coming off a loss, last game of a series so far this year. 6-6 straight up, 5-7 on the run line. When that last game of a series after a loss is at home, 3-3 straight up, 2-4 on the run line. I'm going to flip this over. I just want to see how the White Sox have done. White Sox, last game of a series after a win on the road. White Sox 1-3 straight up, 2-2 on the run line. Over's been better at 3-1. If I had to go anywhere with this, I'm kind of coming out kind of in a similar spot that I felt yesterday, which is I kind of like the White Sox to cover. Really quick, let's look at the market for this game. White Sox, Tigers. Right now, 88% of the tickets are on the Tigers to win, 98% of the money on the Tigers to win. But the White Sox are getting a lot of love from the money when it comes to covering the run line. 32% of tickets are on the White Sox plus 1.5, but White Sox plus 1.5 is getting 59% of the money. Personally, I understand why the money's coming down the way that it is. I like the White Sox to cover. White Sox plus 1.5. You could get this up to 2.5, and I'd be totally fine with it. White Sox plus 1.5, plus 2.5. I think both of those are very strong plays, just given the return. The plus 2.5 would be a parlay play. But other than that, I like the White Sox covering. You feel free to take the Tigers on the money line. White Sox have been one of the worst teams in baseball. I understand it. But I feel like it's better in terms of a value and a trend and a probability standpoint to actually lean just slightly more with White Sox covering than with Tigers on the money line. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are loving the content and loving the show. If you are, just make sure you put your own question or own comment in the chat. And of course, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're a part of this show every single day. We do this because we love talking sports with you guys out there. Guys, girls, whatever. So make sure you throw your questions, your comments. If you need some help with your picks, if you want some research done around what you care about, make sure you guys throw it in the comment section. Anthony, Pittsburgh, first 5 innings. I'm going to look at ballparkpal.com to give me some understanding on this. And the answer is yes, we do like that with Paul Skeens on the mound. So Anthony Hamilton, I would lean towards Pirates on the money line. I'd also take them at probably minus half a run in that first 5 innings. But I do think the Pirates win the first 5. So Anthony, I think that's a great take. Great take by Anthony. Mr. MJD is asking about the Guardians. Let's go check out that Guardians game, everybody. Guardians game, they're going up against the Blue Jays. 73% of the tickets are on Cleveland to win, 66% of the money, so a bit more money coming down on the Blue Jays. As for the run line, 85% of the tickets are on the Guardians to cover, minus 1.5. 38% of the money, though, is on the Blue Jays plus 1.5. So Blue Jays getting a bit more love from the money side of things on both the money line and on the run line. Let's take a look at how the Blue Jays have done under this scenario that they have today. Blue Jays on the road, last game of a series, and they're facing a team with a winning record. So far this year, 2-4 straight up under that scenario, 4-2 on the run line. Unders performed slightly better at 3-2-1. How about the Guardians? Last game of a series at home against a team with a losing record so far this year. Cleveland under that scenario has gone 4-1 straight up, 3-2 on the run line. Over-under has split at 2-2-1. Actually, the Guardians had gone on a 4-game winning streak under this scenario. It was their last outing under this scenario back on June 2nd that they got their first loss of the year, going up against the Nationals. Carlos Carrasco was on the mound for that one. He's not on the mound today. It's Tristan McKenzie. How has Tristan McKenzie done when he's been on the mound so far this year at home against a team with a losing record? Under that scenario, 3-0 straight up. 3-0 on the run line. So if you like the Guardians, you feel good about their starting pitcher today. What about the Blue Jays side of things? UC Kikuchi takes the mound for the Blue Jays when he's gone up against a winning team on the road so far this year. UC Kikuchi under that scenario. 3-2 straight up, 4-1 on the run line. Under has actually been an undefeated 5-0 when Kikuchi has pitched on the road against a winning team. Those performances came against the Brewers, Orioles, Royals, Yankees, and Rays. The 2 losses came against the Rays and the Orioles. Just kind of interesting to note that both the AL East teams, or 2 of the 3 AL East teams, were where the losses came so far. So UC Kikuchi going up against Tristan McKenzie. I lean slightly towards the Guardians on the money line, but I understand why there's value also on the Blue Jays to cover. I might split the difference on this one just slightly on my own bets. But for the moment, I'm going to take the Guardians on the money line here. Guardians on the money line. Really quick, the player prop bets on this one are not great. I actually didn't place any of my bets around this game for player prop bet purposes. So, number of hitters who are questionable about. Tristan McKenzie, Kiner Falefa's 1 for 3 against him. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is probably the only Blue Jays hitter that I have a high confidence level in, but I didn't like the fact that his hit prop was set at 1.5. Vlad Guerrero Jr., 3 hits and 9 at-bats against Tristan McKenzie. He's also hitting .285 against right-handed pitching this year. So I do like Vlad Guerrero Jr. a lot, but just not feeling the over 1.5 hits. It is available at plus 200. That's a decent return, but just hasn't been a very good trend, so I didn't go with it. As for UC Kikuchi, Jose Ramirez is hitting .286 against him, 14 at-bats. That does include 2 home runs. But the .286 doesn't stand out in a great way. It's the .326 batting average against left-handed pitching so far this year that has me liking Jose Ramirez. But much like Vlad Guerrero Jr., it's over 1.5 hits for him. If you're going to take Jose Ramirez, maybe you take over half an RBI or over half a run, maybe even over half a home run. But the over 2.5 hits, runs, RBIs, that feels a little high, even though it's been a very good trend of late, especially against right-handed pitching, less so against left-handed pitching, actually. So, with that said, Jose Ramirez and Vlad Guerrero Jr., my 2 favorite hitters for that Blue Jays and Guardians game. But overall, I think I like Guardians on the money line the most, but Blue Jays plus 1.5, I certainly think has a lot of value. So, Blue Jays plus 1.5, I'll put up on the big board for the moment. I wish I could move that just slightly, but at minus 205, it ain't going anywhere. So Guardians money line, Blue Jays to cover the plus 1.5. That's the only one of these games. Actually, Phillies Diamondbacks, we already did that as well. We're on both sides of the rail. Chad, we do like the Orioles. Now, I have them up on my big board at plus 1.5, but I do think they get the win as well. I actually really like the matchup that they have today. They have a number of hitters who hit Framber Valdez pretty well. Adley Rutschman and Anthony Santander amongst them. The King, Severino, under 5.5 strikeouts. Let's take a quick look at that. We haven't done a lot of player prop bets. We've been tending to focus on the games, but I'm willing to look at this one just because we got the fun question. Looking at strikeouts, specifically in this Mets and Cubs game, Luis Severino, the under's got a good implied probability. Really good trend on this. He's only gone over it twice. That game against the Rays and the Giants. Both of those starts coming in May over the last 10. So far this season, he's only gone over this total 4 times, and 2 of them came in his first 2 starts. The matchup that he has against the Cubs, Severino, Patrick Wisdom has struck out against them at a 66% clip. But other than that, the strikeout numbers are pretty low. Not a lot of history against him. Against right-handed pitching this year, the Cubs have a couple of hitters who strike out a bit higher than you may like. Suzuki at 30%, bit more than we'd like. Michael Busch at 33%. But other than that, they actually have a pretty decent strikeout rate. So I actually think take the under 5.5 strikeouts for Luis Severino. Additionally, the weather for that game at Wrigley, wind's going to be blowing in just slightly, kind of blowing in from center, just kind of along the right field line. So I don't expect a ton of offense, but Severino under 5.5 strikeout feels like a decent play based on the trends and based on the matchup that he has. Appreciate you guys being with us. Spray and pray, I agree with you. That is absolutely the case, baking in those odds into what's being offered. Someone's asking about Blue Jays and Guardians, no run in the first inning. I'm going to look towards ballparkpal.com on this one. And the answer is I tend to say JP yes to a run in the first inning. I actually think over yes to a run in the first inning could actually happen based on what's being shown to me. Personally, that the weather in that Guardians game is the reason I'm not betting the total. Likelihood of overall runs is up 19% in that one, according to ballparkpal.com. The wind blowing out to right field. One of the reasons I actually think Jose Ramirez could hit a home run is because it's blowing exactly into his swing path, as he likes to pull the ball to right field. So very big on that. Likelihood of home runs in that game up 33%. So keep your eye on the Blue Jays and the Guardians game for home runs. One of the reasons I wouldn't touch the under on that one. Someone's asking about the Reds and the Red Sox, and this gives me the opportunity to bring up one of my favorite stats of the season. The best team so far this year on a Sunday is the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox are 11-1 so far this year straight up on a Sunday. On the run line, they're 7-5, so not as good on the run line as they are straight up. When they have played on the road so far this year on a Sunday, straight up, the Red Sox are 6-0. 6-0 straight up on Sundays. They're also 6-0 on the run line. So the Red Sox have been the team of Sunday for whatever reason. By the way, Diamondbacks, Orioles, Marlins, Pirates, some of the other teams that have performed very well on Sundays, Cubs amongst them. So some interesting just notes on how certain teams have performed on the road on a Sunday. Diamondbacks are on the road. Orioles are on the road. So Red Sox, Diamondbacks, and Orioles, three teams that have just a combined 2 losses on Sundays are on the road so far today. With that said, let's take a look at how the Red Sox are looking for today's matchup. So far this year, when the Red Sox have played the last game of a series on the road against a team with a sub-500 winning percentage, the Red Sox have gone 5-0 straight up. They're 4-1 on the run line. Under has also performed well at 4-1. Speaking of the over, the weather for that Red Sox game is very much favoring offense. Likelihood of home runs up 48% in the Red Sox game. Likelihood of offense up very, very big, 48%. That's the highest probability increase across all baseball games today. Keep your eye out for Tyler O'Neill. The likelihood of a home run goes way up with him going up against the left-handed pitcher today. Big offensive opportunity there. Likelihood of overall runs up 19% in that Reds and Red Sox game. Let's look at the Reds side of things. When the Reds have played the last game of a series so far this year at home against a team with a above 500 or equal to winning percentage, they're 3-4 straight up, 2-5 on the run line, and the overs perform slightly better at 4-3. Let's take a look at how these two teams have done with these two starting pitchers on the mound. Nick Lodolo is on the mound for the Reds. So far this year at home, going up against a team with a winning record. That's what we're going to look at now. Under that scenario, 2-1 straight up, 2-1 on the run line. The over has been better at 2-1 as well. Zach Kelly's on the mound for the Red Sox. This is an opener situation for them, so I don't know how long he's going to be on the mound. When he has pitched on the road against a sub-500 team so far this year, he's 1-0, just one win, going up against the White Sox. That was a 6-4 win. Small sample size, not much we could take from it. Let's take a look at the market for this game. Again, we're looking at Red Sox and Reds. Right now, 79% of the tickets are on the Reds to win, but 34% of the money is on the Red Sox, so a bit of discrepancy there. Red Sox are the underdog, plus 1.5 on the run line. They're getting 53% of the tickets, 47% of the money. I'm going to take the Red Sox to cover. Red Sox, plus 1.5. They've been the team of Sundays, and they performed well under the scenario that they have today. I'll take the Red Sox plus 1.5. This might be a day in which I think all three so far, all four AL East teams, I have them covering. All four are underdogs. When's the last time we saw the Yankees, Orioles, Blue Jays, and Red Sox all be underdogs on the same day? I have all four of them covering, and if you told me all four of them won, I wouldn't be shocked. The one that would actually probably surprise me the most might be the Yankees, might be the Blue Jays rather. But I'd like the Red Sox I like the Blue Jays, I like the Orioles, and I like the Yankees. All four are underdogs. I'm taking all four at +1.5 today. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are enjoying the content. Again, if you guys want every pick that I make every single day for free, just DM me on Instagram, @ButtFumbleSports. We give away every pick I make every single day for free because I think you guys work hard for your money. You should be putting them towards the entertainment of sports, not towards somebody's picks. So I give them away for free every day. Just DM me on Instagram, @ButtFumbleSports. That's my Instagram handle. DM me there. I'll hook you guys up with a link for the SHARPZ app, and you can get every pick every single day for free. Lots of transparency. Appreciate you guys watching the show. Hope you guys are enjoying the content. If you guys do have any more questions, hop on over to Instagram and DM me there. I'm going to jump off now. Make sure you guys DM me if you want those picks. And again, we will be live once again tomorrow, talking sports, talking our research, and of course, talking the NHL Game 7 Oilers, Panthers. Finally some closure in the greatest series ever in NHL history? Question mark. Will Canada finally get the Stanley Cup back? Will the Panthers close out their long quest for the Cup? We will see. We'll do our research tomorrow. Can't wait to talk to you guys. We will be live at 4:30 tomorrow. 4:30 Eastern time tomorrow on TikTok Live, Instagram Live, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. So make sure you guys follow, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you guys join us at 4:30 tomorrow, Monday, to talk sports, sports betting research, and fantasy sports. Can't wait to see you guys again tomorrow. Hope you guys stay healthy, hope you stay safe, and hope you enjoy your Sunday full of sports. I've certainly enjoyed talking sports with you today. Until then, see you, everybody.